Okay, so I think this is a good time for me to ask you a question that a listener has sent in. This is from Sanjit. Sanjit used to work with me, and
Okay.
he was a part of my team when I started this podcast.
Oh, okay.
And he was my editor. How long should one work at a firm in their initial career days? And do you think it's better to switch firms, or working at one firm is better?
So my opinion, very frankly, is that yes, you should be around at a firm for a minimum of 3 to 4 years, because I think anything lesser than that is very, very less in terms of time to really be able to understand everything about the practice. The practice is not as simple as just designing a piece of architecture and getting it built, right? And now, since I'm running my own practice, I've kind of like also gotten into a lot more depth of what it takes to be able to make and run a practice, right? It's team building, it's how to get your clients and how to keep the clients with you, how to design, how to get everything built, how to deal with contractor, labor, setting up certain systems in the office, how to maintain discipline, how to also the business side of like the whole practice and stuff like that. And I think if you don't stay at a place, if your ulterior motive at the end of the day, of course, is to kind of move out and start your own practice, and to be able to like also understand how architecture is really like conceived, designed, built, what the afterlife of that architecture is. And I think if you want to understand all of these aspects, I think 3 to 4 years is the bare minimum that you need to stay at a place to really be able to understand all of these nuances that goes into running a practice. When you see people leave from a practice, the reasons that they have for leaving, when you see some projects do really well and some projects fail, not only in terms of like design, but also in terms of execution, when you see some options being liked by clients, some options not being liked by clients, when you start to also understand people and how they respond to certain things and what they are okay accepting and what they're not okay accepting, is what helps you then set up your own practice eventually.
And what if he doesn't want to start out on his own? What
if your motive is not to start out on your own, then I think it's good to kind of shift practices, say again, but every 2 to 3 years, not like every 6 months, because that's why I have a big problem with internships, because when kids come in for internships just for 6 months, it takes them at least 2 to 3 months to even adjust to the way that the office functions and what the office is really doing. And by the time they get into the groove of like becoming a part of that whole process and understanding it, they have to leave. So I feel like a 6-month thing is pointless, because you'll never end up learning anything. You'll probably just pick up the very superficial things from each practice that you move on to. But I think 2 years is kind of good at a place if you want to keep hopping jobs and understand different ways of working, understand different projects, understand different kind of skills of what people are doing, and kind of holistically understand what architecture is all about. Then it's kind of good to keep rotating between firms that obviously also appeal to you and the work of the firm appeals to you.